All right. So for this week, we're going to look at an assignment here. So we're going to look at Lab Manual 4-2 because this is a little different than anything we've done before. We're making you use Wireshark. So last week or a week and a half ago, you had to make sure you downloaded it and told me you got it. So it will run on about anything. So when I click into this, it's got a whole list of questions down here in lab preparation. So talks about the layer 2 Ethernet standard. So here we have that frame. So remember, the only thing in the center is our data. This is our beginning, our header, and this is our trailer. So it makes that frame. It's got a piece ahead of it and behind it. All right, so the first thing I would do, if it were me, is I would actually take this and I would copy these instructions into a Word document so I can answer the questions easily. Chunk. I'm going to do it all and then you can delete it so it doesn't either way. So I'm going to start a new file. I just threw it all in here real quick so that you have to upload a document, yes. So I just did it this way so I have all of it over here really easy to find. All right, so in our case, I know that we have Wireshark installed. So I can now move on to step 2 and step 3. So a couple of these items here. Notice we don't actually do anything until step 5 and 6. All right, so you can submit only the answer. So if you wanted to just put 5 and put it in a Word document, you can either. I don't really care either way. All right, we just have a lot of items open here, so let me close that out. So I'm going to start Wireshark. And then notice I have a ton of different Ethernet addresses on this poor computer. But you don't have any showing any data? All right. Okay. So when it's got this little squiggly thing, it's saying, hey, I've got some data. It looks like a heartbeat. And that's the one I'm going to use to start this. So I will just simply double click it. And now it's recording all of the packets going on this computer. Now, because I'm on the faculty network, I'm seeing a ton of addresses going on here. So I'm probably going to come back and delete some of this because I'm at 1,000 packets already. So I click the one that looks like it's got a squiggly heartbeat. Let me stop and I'll redo that again real quick. So I'm going to click. Oh, I need to go back out then. Hold on. Let me just restart the whole thing. Nope, don't want to save it. So Wireshark. So on these local interfaces, I'm going to want the one. In this case, it says it's Ethernet, but I also have a lot of other network connections on this device that aren't connected currently. So you can also, if you have wireless, you can also pull it down to just wired or wireless. You may need to use wireless. If you're connected on a laptop, you'll need to use wireless because you're primarily on a wireless network. So I'm going to just click this interface, and I'm going to then start collecting my data packets. All right, so it's gathering up all this data. And so the next thing it says is do a command prompt. So CMD. And what I want to do is use a new command. We haven't used this one yet. So this is called NSLOOKUP. And we're going to go to www.cengage.com. And so when I do that, it says, all right, here's its server. Here's an address. And I'm getting back these particular addresses. So alias is cengage.com. Here's another alias for it. But I get a lot of different addresses. Do any of them match the ones in the book? So the book says it was a 69, 32, 208, 75. But do any of those match? No. So I'm just going to take the first one and put that in there for my document and say, All right, we think it's 52.1.144.120. Well, oh, sorry. All right, so I'm just putting in this value, and I'm going to throw it in that. All right, now I'm also thinking, hey, can I check that in some way to make sure that's really the right address? And I can. So I opened up a browser, I put that address in, 52.1.144.120, and let's see what happens if it does open. Oh. And it's not a valid address. It's owned by Cengage, but is it valid? Oh. So you might want to go through those, or maybe even just take a list of all of them. So it certainly is owned by Cengage. Is there another way we could see what the address for Cengage is? What's the other one we've looked at in here? So what if I do a ping? So it shows that it's hiding inside of Amazon at 2.1.144.120. Well, if I go back up here, is that address listed anywhere in here? All right, so there's something really odd going on, and that happens to be because it's inside of an Amazon server. And so we're not getting a direct access. It's doing a NAT through that. So I would select one of those to use. I would say the ping one is probably the most accurate, the 2.1, simply because I think it should resolve back, hopefully, to our address. So the next step says I want to use the ipconfig/all. And we've seen that before. So find a command line. And I'm going to do ipconfig/all. And when I do that, it goes through every piece of adapter in here, because the all gives me all kinds of information. So I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top of it. So, and yours won't. This one's connected in a little different way. So this is a VPN client that our college has installed. We're not using. This, however, in this case, this Marvel AQ Action 10 gigabit adapter, this is the address that we're actually using. And so right up here, there's a physical address. So I can grab that, and I can put it in that's my physical address. And then I could look up what is its IPv4 address. So I bring it back over and I look at it, and I say IPv4, oh, right here. And typically it'll also say preferred, because that's the one it's picked up on, and it will try to go back to that one. So I can copy, and I can paste that into my document wherever I left it here. So what the preferred really says is it's going to try to always assign that IP address unless something else gets assigned to it before then. So if we're out of a pool of data, it will do that. So now we're going to do a command ping. So I'm going to do something just a little different because we're taking some time here. And if I go over here and look at this point, I'm going to stop it. So I'm already on this one at 36,000 packets or frames since we started. So I'm going to clear it out and restart real quick. Yes. Did you collect the interface that's got traffic on it? So if it's not getting any data, that probably means you didn't get a interface that's got data in it. So I'm going to start back over here real quick and do this ping so we can see what it looks like. So the next step says, well, we have a ping in here, and we've used ping before a lot. Ping is one of the really handy tools we have. And in this case, it tells me to ping the IP address of Cengage, or we can just ping Cengage. So it also says to use the -T command. And when I do that -T, remember what that's going to do is make this not stop. So it's going to sit there and ping over and over and over and over and over again. Slowly, ever so slowly. All right, we're going to let it go about 10 times here just so I have some traffic. And remember, this ping will run until you stop it. And so the way you stop it is a Control-C. Hold down the Control key and C. Did you get yours to find data? Perfect. It may be that the WinCap or something didn't get installed or is corrupt. All right. All right. I think I've had enough of this, so I'm going to do Control-C. And that just breaks it. And I'm going to tuck that out of the way here. So now I'm going to stop Wireshark. And in this case, again, I'm on a very chatty, busy network, which is a little crazy here. I've got almost 11,000 packets in that amount of time. So inside the lab or at your house, you'll probably not have that many. So we're going to look at the Wireshark window when the total number of frames is greater than 10. All right, it is. If we didn't have a very busy network, you would see this a little easier. So we're going to return to that command prompt and press Control-C. Oh, I did that already. Look for the captured frames in the top pane and details about the highlighted frames. All right, so I need to find the commands that use this. So I'm going to go plunk over here. All right, so I know a couple of things. I know, so even in my instructions, if I look, it kind of gives me a little hint. I'm looking for ICMP packets. So Internet Control Messaging Protocol. So these are all selectable up on the top. So I can look at them by time, by source, by destination, by protocol. Oh, by protocol here, I can find the ICMP3. So hang on. So here we have a whole bunch of ICMP packets right here. My source, it says, all right, I want to find ones. Click a frame whose source address is the IP address of your computer. All right, so I got to go back up here and look at what my computer's address was. So my computer's address, somewhere on the IP config all, was 10.20.17.21. 10.20.17.21. 10.20.17.21. All right. So here is actually one right here that is a ping request. And when I open it up, I can see a couple of things inside of here. Let me show you what we're looking at here. So this is the actual data structure, and that's viewing it as hexadecimal. So that's really just a string of zeros and ones. And so I'll show you here. See if it'll paste. Should. It's not. Come on. What this looks like is, come on, computer. Let me have the cursor back. There we go. So that's what it actually looks like in zeros or ones, or you can copy it over. So that's what your computer is really sent. Does that make any sense to us right now? I hope not. If you can read that and say that means something, power to you. I would be really, really impressed. But that's our packet. That's all it can send is those zeros and ones. No matter what we're doing, that's all it can send is zeros and ones. So my instructions then, wherever my Word document is. All right, so we found that packet and we opened it up. So click a frame whose source address is the IP address. We did that. The protocol column shows ICMP and the info column shows echo or a ping request. All right, let's make sure all those things are true. So it came from me. It's got a destination, it's an ICMP, and it says it's a ping request, okay? So, it's also got those sequence numbers we talked about, the TTL number. So I can open up that file. If you did a ping, you should have ICMP. So did you click on the control up here where you changed from protocols? Because if you're able to ping, ping is only an ICMP packet. It's the only way it can get out there. So let me work ahead slightly, and then I'll come back and see if we can figure out what you have going on. Because ICMP is the way that ping works. So if the ping worked, you sent out an ICMP packet. What does the source doesn't match? The destination IP address? Okay, I'm confused what you're. So you have an ICMP packet. It's not going to be the same as mine because this is only showing me sending from my computer. So yours over here for an address will probably have a 192.168.180 dot something. So you have to get that address from up above. So here where we found our address of this computer where we did that ipconfig/all, this is the address of my computer. Because I'm on the faculty network, mine are different than the computers in the lab. Did you find your IP address, Hannah? So when I did this document, we did like step 6 was the ipconfig all. So yours should be like 192.168.180 and then 2 more numbers. So it doesn't, it just says what's the IP4 address and the MAC address. The MAC address is going to be the one that looks like this. It's got the hexadecimal. The IP address is going to be this. So let me go through that again. So I'm going to open up a command window, and I'm just going to do ipconfig. So when I do an ipconfig on this computer, I see that this right here is my physical address. My IPv4 address here all of yours out here should be 192.168.180 and then 2 numbers out there. Because so the physical address is a hexadecimal number, six chunks, and then your IPv4 address down here. So that's your computer. So when I look at Wireshark, what I'm looking for is a source address that's my computer, so 10, 20, 17, 21. And again, it would be whatever matches yours. And then I see that it's a ping, and I see it's an ICMP packet. So the way I did it, and there's a whole ton of filters, so you can actually apply filters up here if you wanted to, but I chose not to, and I just scrolled through. So I looked up ICMP packets, I found those, and then I looked for one that matched my address. So the source is 10, 20, 17, 21. Now what you'll notice though is I have ones coming, this one goes to this address, which we said was Cengage, or at some point became Cengage, but they're also sending me a message back. Notice that. So this is responding back to me. So that's the one I need, is something that looks like this. So it comes out of my computer and it's going to Cengage, and then it says it's an echo packet. So that's what I need to do the next step in here. All right. All right. So as this is showing here, this Wireshark shows us a lot of info. So the source address in the Ethernet portion of the frame. So we need to click the arrow next to the Ethernet 2 to expand the tree. All right, so I'm going to move this off to the side so we can look at it. So these are all trees here. So all 4 of those items can expand. So I'm going to expand the Ethernet 2, and I'm going to take a look at it. So it says a destination, and it says an address, and a source. Oh, wait a minute. This looks weird. So in this case, what is the source address in the Ethernet portion of the frame? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Weird. All right. So when I look at this address, so it says here's my destination, and we're looking for the source. Okay, so we're looking for the source, which is here. Wait a minute. Is that an IP address or is that a MAC address? Take a look carefully at that address. So it says source is E04F43E63AC2. So an easy way to tell, because you think, well, it's got letters in it, so it's probably an IPv6, so it's really big. But there's only 6 pieces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what item do we have that's 48 bits? So we have IP addresses are 32 or 128, so what else is left in there? That media access control address. So I'm going to come back down here and fill that in really quickly. So the destination address, so here's my destination. Oh, we're doing source first, sorry. So here's my source, and so that's the address right here. So this E0, so I can copy that. Or highlight it or type it in, whichever way you want to do. So that is our address where it's headed to. And we know that it's 48 bits because it's got 6 pieces in it. So we know that that's actually the MAC address. Well, that's kind of weird. So where is it going? So our destination is here. So 00090F 09000B. And in fact, I can shortcut because notice they're right up here. So my source and my destination are up in this header line even. What is the destination address? And so that destination address then is also in here, and it's that 00090F 09000B. Well, here's where this is weird. Because I can only move data to the next router, what I'm really doing is this is going to essentially the gateway of my network. So this is not going all the way here, all the way to Cengage. It only goes to that next hop. In other words, that next router on our campus. This is actually the destination address is actually our internet gateway right here. So I know that's kind of crazy, but even though we're saying we're going to send this packet a long ways out, it's got to stop along the way, and its first stop is our internet gateway. So what we're really doing is we're saying we're sending it and receiving it back from this particular device here, a Fortinet router of some sort. So destination address, source address, where it's coming from. So this and this. So if I go back and I say, well, wait a minute, that looks familiar, that address. And I go up here and I find my physical address. Not sure which one's on there. Oh, ipconfig all, and I go back up here to look at that physical address. Oh, wait a minute. 0A, they're very similar because it's taking it off of this computer and moving it out. So our next question then is, all right, we see that we're going only to that internet gateway. So our next one says the IP protocol 4 version of this frame is part of the payload of the frame. All right, what is the destination source IP addresses in the IP part of the frame? So I'm going to move this out of the way so we can look that up really quickly. So here we look at Internet Protocol 4, and here we see the information. I'm going to do this so it's easier to see. So here we see the destination, and we can find that source address and the destination address. Oh. So they're buried inside of this entire frame in that IP portion of it. So now we could say, all right, I know that those addresses are, this is my source address, which is my computer here, and that's my destination address where we figured out Cengage lives. So I can fill those in. So the destination in this case would be 52.96.79.18. And my source then is my computer of 10.20.17.21. So that IP protocol, if you remember, we looked at that chart where we started putting headers and trailers. That IP data is inside of there, so we actually have to examine that packet to get that. So it tells us a lot of other things like our time to live, our protocols. So there's a lot of pieces in there. The ICMP protocol here, we can look at the sequence numbers and all these different pieces here and what the data is. There's 2 bytes of data, which is just blank because we're not really sending anything. All right. So our next step on our instructions then, in the command prompt, enter the command arp-a. All right, let me find my command prompt again. arp-a. Helps if I don't. All right, so our document up above, the IP address of our gateway, we're looking for that MAC address of that gateway we recorded earlier. So I'm going to go back up here a little bit. And we said that MAC address of our gateway was 0009. So I'm going to take that so I can remember it and hold it right here. And then what I want to do is match it up. What is that IP address of our gateway? So I notice here's an address that matches, and it happens to be on the top of that list. So it says, this is that physical address we had earlier. So 00090F09000B. That's the same address we found in Wireshark. And here we can get an address. So what it's saying to me is, I bet your gateway is assigned this address. So here's its physical address. Here's its IP address that's been assigned. Well, we can also double check that with our ipconfig all. Let me get to the bottom of this real quick. And if I scroll back up, I will see somewhere in here. So IPv4 address, default gateway. Oh, 10.20.16.254. And that's what we had for in our ARP packet, was that same data. So we could say, all right, now we know that The default gateway is 10.20.16.254, I believe. All right, so we're almost there. We have one more question. So that's where everything goes in and out of our network, our gateway protocol. You may see a different one. My guess is you're actually going to see this value inside of the computer lab. You're going to see 192.168.180.1 when you get through there. All right, so now we're going to expand the Internet Control Message Protocol portion of the frame. All right, move it out of the way. Internet Control Message Protocol. And we're going to look for the type. I think it's what it's looking for. So the type field says, type 8 or echo ping request. What is the type field? So it's type 8. That one should be the same no matter what we do. That just says, I know if I got this set of values in here. So right here, notice when it's something kind of cool in here, when I click on a line, it actually highlights where it's at in that chunk of data. So down there, we have 0000100. Huh. Do we think that's equivalent to 8? So if I ran a calculator, because I never trust anything. Yes. Okay, let me finish this and then I'll come help you figure out where you're at. All right. So this 001, if I think about it, oops, lost my calculator. So our calculator, we can convert, if we change this to programmer, we can convert values from binary to hexadecimal, etc. So I'm going to put in 1000 and I want to see it in decimal. It's 8. Yeah. So type 8 up here is 8 in this string of numbers. Well, where's my data? Well, my data is these 2 bytes. So notice it says bytes. And we know that that's 2. Highlight it. We know that that is then, there's my data, those last 2 items, and there's nothing in there. If I want my checksum or my identifier or any of those, I can actually see where they're at. So that's kind of cool in Wireshark that we can see all those things. So here we have code 0. Well, that's 0 right there, and it shows that that's where we're at. The only thing your computer can do is count all these zeros and ones coming in, and by position, say, all right, this is, in this case, whatever we're looking at. This is that individual address, the unicast. Then if I click on the next section, so it actually works kind of slick to look at those. All right. So that should get you through most of it. There are some review questions. I think there are 4 or 5 of them to answer at the end of it. When you are done, so this is where this is a little different than anything we've done so far. Let me find my Word document again. So when you're done, File, Save. Make sure you have your name in it so I know whose it is. And I'm going to save it on this computer, and I'm just going to save it somewhere. So we're on a weird screen resolution here. It's going to make that weird. And I'm just going to call this 4-2. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go back into my Cengage assignment. Quit without saving. And I'm going to say, oh, I need to file upload that. And I can either choose it or I can drag it there. So whichever way I need to find it. So documents, I'm just going to grab, and I know that's not it. I'm just going to drag it in there to show you. And that one says it's too big, but then I just drag my Word file there and submit it. So I can then submit, and then my assignment is done. So then I have to go into Cengage then and find those and take a look at them. So it's a little different, but it's making you use things that aren't in just that simulation environment, and things can and will go wrong. All right. I did not answer the review questions. You will have to answer the 5 or 4 review questions that are in there. By ourselves, I know.